What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? Because you guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast with Tim City Rocks. We're rocking metal thrive. Wishing you guys a happy Tuesday. We're like over halfway through May. It is May 18th. It's already 18th? God damn. But I got a great episode for you today. So if you guys like wavecore. Okay, what's wavecore exactly? Imagine synthwave and metalcore mixed into one. Kind of think about like Era and Northlane. There's a band out there called Dreamwake who was on the podcast today. And we go through their brand new song, Luna, in depth for you. And it's just something where you can see bringing that heaviness of metalcore in there along with the synth to kind of contrast against it heavily with a softer, smoother sound. Definitely is something for you to get to like listen to and put your eye on because, put your ear on, I should say. Because I'll put it this way. If you think of it like Era, this song definitely would be like a song on the album that came out this year, and it would fit in perfectly. So definitely give it a listen after the podcast because these guys are absolutely hysterical. We go in depth with the song, what they've been doing, how they took 2020 and the whole entire shutdown, and also you get a good look into their personalities because we find out who their go-to Smash Bros. Characters are. Are you guys ready? Because I am, so let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, one of the great PR reps that I'm in contact with sent me this band and said, hey, check this out. They got a brand new single coming out on 4/20. Yes, blaze it, because what other day would you come out with a single than on 4/20? And I said, okay, give me a little background on the band. She said, if you like the band Era, then you'll like this band. I just kind of smiled because I recently did a video figuring out if I liked Era or not. Jumped into the song and I said, yep, here's what we can do. We'll feature the song as a Song of the Day feature on the day of the release, and then we'll talk to the band on the podcast and get more people to know about them. So without further ado, everybody, please welcome the guys from the band Dreamwake. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having us, bro.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on. How's everything going in your neck of the woods on this day in the world?
Pretty great.
Going pretty good. Just been riding out the effects of the song the past couple of days. Been,
Just endorphin high.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely,
It's been really cool. It's been a long time since we dropped music, and we've been sitting on this stuff for a long time. So, we're doing pretty good. Our spirits are pretty high at the moment.
Yeah.
That's good to hear, just because, especially with the year that we've had, especially like year to date, I should say, because actually year to date in like a month due to the fact that everything was shut down March 2020. No one knew what the hell was going on. And to just have some sort of moment where you get that endorphin high once again, where you're releasing stuff, seeing the impact of your music again on people, and then hopefully just start also seeing that, certain tours are starting to come back, seeing certain tour announcements, certain festival announcements. Just must also, like, you guys releasing music and then give you hope for the not too distant future to get back out on stage.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's definitely exciting. Like I feel like, we've gone through a long year dealing with a lot of shit.
It's been tough.
It was a very slow climb, to say the least.
Right.
We've been kind of just grinding out for a long time. So like just to, there's kind of like, a light at the end of the tunnel almost. We're seeing some tours being booked, like you said, and it's just there's hope. There's hope that someday we can get back to what we do best, is like travel and just play music and meet new people and make friends. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then also do what you guys do best, is play that kind of music where all of a sudden people are going to go crazy, and then I end up getting injured in a mosh pit and being happier than all hell to do that. So,
and then crying right after that because they're so emotionally affected.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So as we jump into this, I always like to start these podcasts out with 3 questions to each of you guys. Now, The first 2 of these questions, they're going to be super simple, super easy, where you're not going to have a problem answering them. But the third one kind of puts you on the spot a little bit, but it's always the most interesting one. So the first question is, I want to know what your name is, so everyone gets to know what your name is. 2, when it comes to the band Dreamwake, what do you do in the band? Again, first 2 questions, very simple. Now, here's where I get to have my fun. I want to know a fun fact or an interesting story about yourselves that will hopefully make me fall out of my chair laughing hysterically. I've heard ones about people chloroforming members of their band, taken to the beach and then burying them halfway in the sand, make it look like their legs got chopped off. When I got to talk with Diamante, she told me a story about how the bass from Hinder has this party trick he always does and lights his balls on fire and doesn't get fazed by it. So I've heard some interesting shit. So I want to see if you guys can top some of these. I've even heard people give me their Tinder bios, which was probably the most ridiculous one ever. And of course, if they gave me theirs, I'm like, okay, I'll give you mine too, because it's just funny, got to reciprocate. So I'll let you guys take it away, and we'll see if you guys can make me fall out of my chair laughing hysterically.
Oh, shit. All right. That's a tough one.
I'll let you kick it off.
I'm going first.
You're going first.
Dave's like,
All right.
Yes.
All right, dude.
Well, I'm Dave. I play guitar in Dreamwake. And a fun fact about me that is going to make you laugh hysterically. Let's see. I got to think about this, to be honest. This is like a really tough one. I'm not that interesting.
I think you're very interesting, Dave.
Come on, Dave. You got a man bun.
What was the craziest thing that ever happened to you ever?
That ever happened to me ever.
Yeah, it can be when you guys were touring. It could be like when you were young. It could be anything, honestly. It could be anything.
Dude, I don't know.
You want to skip and come back?
I kind of do want to skip and come back.
All right, well, we'll put the pause on Dave for the story, but I do want to see what he comes up with.
I don't know, man. I'm not good on the spot. I'll think about it.
Maybe when someone else goes in, you'll get inspired and remember a story like, oh, shit, that's the one I got for this.
Right.
Kev?
My name's Kevin. I play bass. And a little fun fact, I know how to make some good meatballs in my underwear.
Kevin keeps mixing meatballs in his underwear.
Well, wasn't expecting that, but one thing I will say about Kevin is, my God, that guy's got a great name, doesn't he? I mean, I gotta say, probably the best name between the four of you guys, oddly enough.
I don't know about that one, but
in my personal opinion, as Kevin, I think Kevin has the best name.
I agree. Kevin's a great name.
I might be a little biased, just a little, just a little.
A little.
Okay, so I'll go next. I am Bobby. I sing for the band. And I guess I can kind of give you guys a funny story as to how I kind of got into music. But so when I was younger, I obviously like really loved bands like Linkin Park and stuff. So I would always like love to like pretend to play music and stuff. But that's besides the point. But anyway, so I also wanted to be like a professional skateboarder back then too. And like, so I kind of like chose skateboarding for a little bit until like one day I went down this huge hill, like dude, like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And like going halfway down the hill, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm dead. I can't get off this. I'm going way too fast, you know? So I'm going down the hill like 1,000,000 miles an hour. I come to the bottom of it. My board's wobbling, so I hop off. I trip. I roll. I break my arm. I get hurt, whatever. So I break my arm. I get the cast off a couple months later. And that same day I get the cast off, I go like skateboarding down my driveway again. And I immediately fell off my board and broke my arm again. Yeah, dude. So terrible. So it was right then and there. I was like, you know what? Maybe sports just isn't for me. Maybe I should just do music instead. And that was what I just chose since that happened. And here I am.
Oddly enough, I can kind of relate to that. The fact that I remember one time I was camping and me and my friend, we were going down this massive hill on 2 Razor scooters. All right, that's a bad idea already. As we were going down, because it went down, there was a little bit of it plateaued a little bit and then went back down again. So by the time we got to the plateau, like I jumped off, ended up going head first into a moving minivan.
Oh my God.
To the point where the person driver was like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm 8 years old. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I jump back on the scooter thinking, if that's the worst that can happen to me, well, we'll see what happens when we go down the second half. Go back down, and there's this massive turn. And I'm like, there is a shit ton of gravel at the bottom of this hill.
Oh, man.
Fuck. Turn, all of a sudden, I fall over and I go skidding across the gravel. And this is the first like 10 minutes that we arrive there. My buddy does the same thing. He didn't hit the car though, so he only got this. And I'm sitting there just like looking as an 8-year-old kid, just my whole entire left side of my body just scraped up to hell. And I'm just thinking, it was gonna happen sometime.
Yeah, that's like the price to pay with that. But it's just like that's like the worst moment is when you're flying so fast and you know you can't stop, and then you see like an obstruction coming up, and you're like, oh God, well now what? You got to just like go with it. But yeah, that's how I got to music though, by breaking my arm twice and then just quitting sports and doing music. So here I am.
Well, maybe it was a good thing, oddly enough, that you broke your arm twice on a skateboard.
God's
back
plan.
to back. God's plan.
Say that a lot in this band.
I'll say that so far that's a pretty damn good one. I will give you that, Bobby. So thank you.
Anything good happens, God's plan, bro. God's plan.
Yes.
All right, so I guess I'm up. I am Andrew. I play drums in the band. And for the past 3 turns, I've been trying to think of a story that I can tell. And I usually like to think of myself as like the band clown. Usually it's Kevin, but like
I would say
don't
the
know.
band cook, bro.
I guess I'm
This
the band
dude is
cook, too.
oh my god.
Well, like-
this dude is the best cook. Don't even sell yourself short, dude. This guy is a chef. This guy's a full-on chef. This guy cooks the best meatballs and pasta. Like
Yeah,
you
I taught this man. I don't know why. When are you cooking meatballs in your underwear? Like,
I literally have a Polaroid of it.
why?
It was when we were actually recording Luna.
Yeah.
Really? When
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
made
we're out in Ohio.
meatballs in his underwear.
We,
So-
we stayed in a place with
Yeah,
with
tell
our
him about the
producer.
studio.
Yeah,
So, what was my bad? I mean,
No,
my
Who's
turn?
cutting who off?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure who this is.
I wasn't saying anything.
All
Okay.
right,
No.
so we stayed in the. He's just the narrator back there. So anyway, we were staying in the studio with our producer Steve, and we would make Sunday sauce. That was our, we stayed there. I think there was actually 3 Sundays that overlapped. So every
Yeah.
Sunday we would make pasta, sauce, meatballs, all this stuff.
The whole Italian works.
Kevin's
Italian
thing
music
was
playing.
helping with the meatballs. So there's a Polaroid of him in his underwear helping with the meatballs. I guess Andrew must have been downstairs, doing something in the studio.
If
guess
Kevin
so.
was in his
Kevin,
underwear,
yeah, Kevin
making
was upstairs
meatballs.
in his underwear making
I'm
meatballs.
concerned. I ate those meatballs.
Yeah, when did that happen, dude? We ate that food.
So
Also, if you made those-
onto being out in Ohio and recording, I think what Dave failed to mention, which was like, I'm just gonna tell the story because you missed out.
Okay.
So Kevin
Oh,
thinks
man.
that he's a god
Ah.
and he's gonna antique everybody in the band.
Dan, you just
And
fucking
he's
stole
the-
my story.
He's the prankster. So, well, no, I'm giving you the story.
Okay.
So Dave got it in his head. We sent Kevin on a fool's errand. We were in Walmart in Ohio, and we sent him for like blinker fluid or something like that.
Blinker fluid.
and,
Blinker fluid? What the
Yo, Kev, the van needs
Go
blinker
grab
fluid.
taco sauce for the van. It has to
And,
say van sauce.
He's looking for. He's like van sauce. Van sauce.
So meanwhile, this kid Dave grabs a bag of flour and hides it in this little apartment for like, I don't know, a few days.
Stole my prank.
It's not your prank.
He talked a lot of shit.
So
He talked a lot
anyway,
of shit
he
back here,
talked a
Kevin.
lot of crap.
He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna antique you. I'm gonna antique you. I'm gonna antique you." I was like, "All right, bet."
And then he
And
got
then,
into it.
and then
So,
Dave antiques.
That was actually gonna be my story. Was I love to fuck with Kevin? That's my favorite.
Wait,
thing.
can we swear on the podcast?
Oh, fuck yeah. You fucking kidding me?
So I love to fuck with Kevin.
It's like fuck. No.
So he, like I said, he was talking all this shit. He was like, "I'm gonna antique you," which is, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know what antiquing is, it's when you take a bag of flour and you throw it in someone's face while they're sleeping. So they look like a dirty, dusty.
and then they get
antique
up
old
and they're
man.
just like, yeah.
So I was like, okay. So we sent him on this mission for van sauce. We hid the flour in the cart. Next morning comes, we have this whole video of us in the bathroom getting the flour ready.
Dude, it was so early. I remember just sleeping, and then like Dave was like, "Yo, I'm gonna antique Kevin."
And I gotta be
was like,
honest.
"Oh."
I'm one of those people that feels bad about everything. So I didn't fully just smack him like I should have. I kind of like sprinkled it on his face.
He was like going easy, but the whole time, me and Andy were just like, "Pour the whole bag, pour the whole bag, pour the whole bag," and he was just sprinkling it. And then Kevin woke up so pissed.
So and Kevin got antiqued. He talked all the shit and he got antiqued.
Just you wait.
And
It
now
was a
that
half antique.
and now that I didn't really do it completely correct, it's gonna happen again, and we're gonna get it on video
Nah,
and
it's gonna
post
be
on the
him.
band page.
No, what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw the sandwich stuff, the lunch meat, the turkey,
Oh, yeah.
the tomatoes, the mustard,
Yeah,
the
make a
bun.
sandwich while he's sleeping. 1, 2, tomato, lettuce.
Or what you can also do is you can just go do the antique thing, yeah, but also kind of mix it with the what Bam Margera would do with like the rocketing with Jackass, where you throw the water in someone's face and punch on the other side.
Oh,
yeah.
But instead of
Yeah.
using, but of course, you don't want to break Kevin's
we
face.
have
probably.
soccer boppers though.
That's exactly where I was gonna go with this. You need sock and bopper.
We have those.
Or Vulcans.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, you got to have sock and boppers. But I'm like also thinking, wait a minute. If I bring up sock and boppers, because that was definitely like a late 90s toy.
Dude, yo,
I hope to God this
guy's
listen, we are 90s kids and we are all about all of that. So
Yep.
There's a Pac-Man machine sitting next to you. If you can't see it.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean,
hell yeah, man. Pac-Man machine.
oh, and I can see the buttons. I can kind of see is it Miss Pac-Man though?
Oh, my shoulder.
Miss Pac-Man, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell by the just the way that the little dashes looks because
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it because my uncle and my aunt and uncle, they have a place up north. They've got an old Pac-Man machine up there, so it's like every time up north, like I just
sweet.
I'll play and see if I can beat my high score from when I was 12, and I still haven't. 12-year-old me would kick.
That's your prime for video games.
I was gonna say 12-year-old me would kick 26-year-old me's ass in every video game, maybe except like a good amount of N64 games. I think I still reign supreme.
Favorite N64 game, go.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, dude. Yes, that is probably like it fights with Mario 64 for my number one. Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie are like, dude, Chef's freaking kiss, bro. That game, that game.
I mean, there's plenty more here. You got the original Smash.
Oh my God,
Super Mario 64.
Man,
The best rail shooter of all time, Star Fox 64.
Bro. Oh
I mean,
God.
you got to have Mario Kart in there. Let's be real.
We played that on the reg.
Let's see what else
On
we
the
got
reg.
here. Well, I mean, if you're gonna have Mario Kart and you want to have a little bit of a crazier challenge, you gotta go Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong, man. Diddy Kong.
Yeah, there we go.
Dude. Oh my God.
Let's see what else is
right now.
Right, I love you.
Little Banjo.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to go like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo's 2, you kind of like cute, but also get really raunchy with it, you gotta have Conker's Bad Fur Day. You gotta
Let's go.
Let's see what else
Wait, is that a real copy or is that like a?
This is a straight up real copy.
Oh, dude, that's nice.
Paper Mario, of course. You know, gotta have a little RPG action in there. If you want to spend 100 hours trying to defeat something, DK64 because that's gonna take you forever. And what's any N64 collection without Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? You gotta have stuff like that.
Those are all the best games.
GoldenEye. Because
You literally haven't missed yet.
Let's see what else we got
Every
here.
single game has been absolutely
Perfect Dark.
Yes,
Follow-up to
dude.
For Bobby, after he broke his arm twice while doing this, the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Oh shit!
Every time you open it up, the first track you hear is Superman by Goldfinger, and
Yes.
Let's see what else we got here. That would be awesome. I think you guys would like. Oh shit!
So sick.
I'm falling all over the place now. My friends and I would used to always play NFL Blitz all the time, so that we could just use pass interference on everything.
Oh, dude, Blitz was sick. Yeah, wasn't that the game where you were able to like fight the players after the play was over?
Yep.
And
then of course in there is Pokemon Stadium, both 1 and 2.
Oh, dude, Pokemon Stadium.
There are a couple I'm still missing, but you know, over time I'll probably find them somewhere. I mean, I found Conker's Bad Fur. My brother actually got me Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think it was for my 21st birthday. Like that was his gift. He's here, enjoy. And I'm like, motherfucker.
I actually collect for N64. It's sick. I have a couple of do you remember those like colored consoles they had? Like they're called like Fantastic. And they're like purple, blue, red.
And they kind of like see through them a little bit.
Yeah. So I've been trying to collect those.
You mean kind of similar to like one of the controllers like this?
Yeah, that, just like that. So I collect like all the consoles and the controllers and like the games. Just that was such like a huge piece of my childhood. I couldn't let it go, you know.
Yeah, because I've always had like, I'll put it this way: the N64 technically is my brother's, but we made an even trade where he took everything we had in our PS2, everything with the Wii as well. And even though I played them the most, probably the Wii the most, but all of a sudden he's like, I'm like, you can take those, but I get that.
Yeah, that's mine.
Clearly someone won that trade and it was me. Because like I'll still play them. Like when I was in college, I took it with me because trying to connect my Xbox to the internet was just a pain in the ass for every apartment I lived in. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm playing N64 all the time.
Yeah, dude, right. Yeah. Just plug it in, you press the button that turns it on, and boom, it's on.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's like I'm waiting for my friends to get ready or my friends to come over to my apartment. We're gonna pregame and go out. It's like, well, what are you doing while you wait? I'm like, I'm literally playing Diddy Kong Racing and drinking my ass off while I wait for you guys.
Oh my god, you are a beast. We need to hang out.
Oh, absolutely. And then I'll put it this way, or we'd go. Or it's like even for my friends' houses as well. If I go by their apartments, we always had a Wii set up there, but we'd always have either Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart all the time. That's all we'd ever play, and it'd always have drinking games involved in it. And I'm like, you know what? If you guys want to come over here, we'll do the same thing, except 2 generations earlier, and have a lot more fun with it. Because I mean, come on, it's N64. You can't not have fun playing N64. No. But yeah, we'll definitely have to hang out and just crank that bad boy open, crack open 2-3 cases of beer, and just have a good ass time.
That's it. Yep, for sure. Absolutely. I do that like weekly, honestly.
That's not a bad way to go about it. I haven't been able to do that in a while just because been working my ass off too much. And then of course, just the way life has been. But again, going back to like when I was in college, like 5 years ago, holy shit. There were times where when I was living with my friends my junior year, if we didn't have anything going on, we just start doing that. Or even if we had things going on at night, it's like, okay, we're just going to start doing like don't drink and drive or drinking and playing Smash Bros.
Don't drink and drive is so sick.
But what would always end up happening is almost every single time we'd start playing, we'd start having a good time. We're supposed to meet some people at the bars or something. It'd be like 1 a.m. and we'd realize that we had not stopped playing yet. We're like, you know what? Fuck this. Who cares? We're still going.
That's so funny. Yeah, we're like the same way. We used to play Smash Bros. Like every day.
I broke so many
It
controllers.
hasn't. Yeah, dude. Kevin has spiked so many controllers.
Yeah.
That's
for
actually
a GameCube.
Ironically, that's the only game now that I've gotten better at in like my adult life than like, because I never really honestly played that as a kid. I was more of like a PlayStation guy. I was just like strictly racing games. I don't know what my problem was, but I get better at Smash. I can kick some of these guys' asses at Smash now.
All right, now I got to ask the question, all four of you guys. When it comes to Smash Bros, who is your go-to character?
What Smash Bros? We talking like Melee? We talking original? We talking?
I'll put it this way because I know certain different characters have different attributes in different games. So we'll say. Well, I mean, yeah, pick whichever one you want, or pick all of them if you want. I really don't mind. I want to hear this.
Say which character from which game.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. Facts. I want to say Fox, and that's for all the Smashes for me. Fox is my go-to.
That's a good pick because he does have some strength, but the quickness is just.
He's quick as shit, man. He's real quick. It's good.
Link has always been my main, so he was always my go-to.
Yeah, I actually I'm a Falco guy.
He challenges me with the Falco.
Yeah, Bob's probably the best one out of all of us, and sometimes I hold my own when I use Falco in Melee against Bob.
I'm pretty solid, dude.
Sometimes I've gotten pretty good at it.
Totally understandable. All right, got one more.
So I'm the Smash rookie.
He is a Smash rookie.
I am the Smash rookie.
He just started
terrible. Terrible. I don't even know the characters well enough. I know that I like to use a little pink fucker called
Kirby.
You don't know Kirby?
I was gonna say Kirby. Y'all beat me to it. Made me look stupid up in here.
Let's say Kirby's one of the originals. However, oddly enough, I'm in almost total agreement with Kevin on this one because every single Smash I've played, Link has always been my go-to.
Yeah, character. Link was my second. Link was my second.
However, when I was growing up playing the original Smash on N64, Link was always my go-to. I was almost unstoppable against my friends and my brother and everybody. But then when we went off to college and everything, my best friend was playing it a lot in his dorm room because we went to different schools. Yeah. And he got super good as both Samus, because that's always been his go-to character, and Donkey Kong. And the problem with Link in the first, Link's really powerful, super duper powerful in the first iteration of Smash. But the two problems is he's super heavy for his size, which makes no sense. Yep. And to get those attacks to hit, it does have a little bit of a charge time. So if someone's quicker, does. Like I kept getting my ass kicked. I was like, I have to find some way to beat my best friend or be able to match him up. So I went complete. When he'd go DK, I decided I'm gonna go as opposite as possible and try and beat him with a lot of quickness and like being lighter and try and avoid some hits. So I go Pikachu at that point.
Oh, okay. Pikachu. That's okay. I have a buddy that plays Pikachu a lot, but I don't really see Pikachu when I play people in Smash.
Yeah, I feel like that's
that's cool though.
Yeah.
Well, it's when you take a look at the when you go to Melee, then a Brawl, then Ultimate. Of course, you're gonna have a larger array of characters to work with. But when I'm like going back to the original, because that's what we were playing, it's like I've got a smaller base to work with, and because he was so good at with DK, I'm like I gotta find someone that's gonna be.
And Pikachu's fast.
I have to sacrifice the fact that I can get knocked out in 3 hits for the fact that I can grab him quicker than he can. I can move around quicker than he can. I had to work with that.
Yeah.
Have to adapt and overcome.
We literally had a Bear Grylls this shit. Improvise, adapt, overcome. But then it's always fun too because I still play the N64 one. I never had a GameCube, so didn't really play Melee. I played Brawl a good amount with my best friend because when my brother had the Wii, but he took it, so I haven't played Brawl since like 2018. And then when my friends a couple of my other friends, they got Switches. So of course, if we're going by their house, that we're playing Ultimate, and it's always hilarious because they still play a lot. I don't. But when we get to play, it's still, I'm a damn force to be reckoned with, and it's just the weirdest thing.
That's sick.
That's awesome.
Like, yo, bro, I'm still goated.
Like, like people will get pissed off. So it's like, all right, man. It's like, okay, what are we doing for characters? Pick your character, and I'll land on Link, and there's like, fuck.
Everyone just like sighs. Oh.
And it's like, all right, change your character. And everyone's like, Kevin, you can't be Link. And then I'll go like DK or Bowser or something like that, or Ganondorf. And it just, they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, you guys are not able to hit me off. If you guys can get me off the map, then you got me. But that's a big task to take.
Yeah, definitely. If you're playing like Ganondorf or somebody who hits hard.
Oh yeah, there's times where I'll get people like kind of like, like smash them into the ground so they're kind of stuck there. And then I get that B move where it's like the charge punch.
The punch.
Holy shit, do people go flying.
Yeah, it's some serious damage. That's a lot of damage. Yeah. That's a lot of damage.
It is a lot of good damage. However, of course, as much as I enjoy talking video games with you guys and Smash Bros, because that's just as fun as all hell. Of course, the main purpose we're here is the fact that you guys have brand new music that has just come out on 420. And I hope the day beforehand, for good luck, that you put out milk and cookies for Willie Nelson to come by.
Of course.
Yes, they were gone in the morning.
Snoopy.
Yeah. Big Snoop paid us a visit.
They were gone in the morning, and there was some green crumbs around there.
He left us some shake.
For YouTube's purposes, it was oregano, but we all know really what it was. So of course, you guys dropped Luna. Like you said, your first single for in a while on 420 of 2021. And I gotta ask, because this is after the release of it, so far, what have you seen from the fans in terms of reception on this kind of a track?
I mean, it's been honestly crazy. It's definitely been bigger than any release that we've had before, which, our last release was kind of like our debut. So it kind of makes sense, but it's really cool to see a lot of new faces, a lot of people sharing everything.
This is like one of the most like hyped up releases we've had as a band yet. So it's pretty cool to we haven't done music or new music in a couple of years. So it's like really nice to like have people there to kind of like welcome us back with like open arms and just like be really excited about all this stuff, because we're really excited about all this. We have a bunch of stuff planned. So
super grateful for it's been a crazy good reception. Honestly, I haven't really seen one bad thing yet, which is awesome. So
that's good as well, especially because, again, with your first release and pretty much like your debut at this point and having it be a bigger release to get people more into it, it makes sense that, you're going to have a larger reception from it. But the fact that there's been a lot more positivity behind it than maybe you expected at the forefront, because
there's a bunch of hype behind it, man.
Yeah,
we expected some hype behind it, but like the amount of that we've received so far has just been like, everyone just keeps like, I don't know, like,
a lot of
hyping us up.
too,
It's so cool. It's so reassuring.
Yeah. We put a lot, like everything we have, like, I know everybody says that, but like we've literally put everything we have into this music. So it's very awesome to like see people digging it as much as we hoped.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to making music, you have, especially if this is what you love to do and this is what you want to do for the rest of life, you have to put everything you want into it. There is no room to leave anything out, because I forgot, who was I talking to recently about this? It was Neil from the band Royal Bliss, because we were talking about this similar situation where it's, if you want to be in music and you want to go after exactly what you want to do in life, what's going to make you happy, it's going to be hard to be the best possible at it, but you have to put in 100% every step of the way, because if you want, like, kind of like from a musical standpoint, if you want to be the biggest band possible, if you want to achieve that goal, you want to achieve that growth, you want to make sure that you achieve what you want to achieve, you're going to have to put 100% in towards that goal. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And there's times where people do put 100% in and it might not happen, but sometimes it's, you guys maybe didn't hit at the right time, in terms of you just got to keep going and wait for something to just pop off. Like what seems like with Luna, with you guys gaining more momentum, especially going into the release of more new music and potentially another record.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, it's just been great. We're super grateful for it. So
very, very overwhelming. It just, like Dave said before, we're like very passionate about what we, created. It's very like, we've literally given everything we've had. Like, it's so reassuring and like refreshing from like being away from the scene for so long, like for COVID hit, can't play shows. We're kind of like not totally disconnected from the scene, but like, you know, things are just different. It's all online, and we haven't been doing anything much because we've been behind the scenes. So like, it's refreshing to like have people just kind of like I said, like welcome us back with like open arms and like very, very positive, and just everyone's excited for us to be back. So we're pretty excited to be back.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of bands who it's just in the similar situation. I mean, every band's been in that similar situation where once COVID hit, it was, you know, you got to take a look and see where do you want to go from here. And because there were a good amount of bands that were like at the beginning, oh, we'll just wait it out because, you know, we're just pushing tours back a couple of months and we'll see what happens. But then as time went on, it was the bands that took the opportunity and looked at it and said, okay, this is happening right now. We're going to be stuck inside and stuck away from playing live shows or from the crowd or from the fans. Physically, I mean, you can always reach them out on social media, but physically for quite some time, how can we make this the best potential time for ourselves? And whether it's, you know, if you just had a recent release, I saw some bands like, I'm trying to think, From Ashes to New was a great example because they were going to put out a new record in 2020. They did a bunch of covers, even though they had a record ready to go, and just connected well on social media to the point where when Panic dropped, that was a huge track for 2020. And then when the album dropped, everyone was anticipating it. From you guys, from your perspective, though, it seemed like you guys kind of took a step back because you were more focused in on writing these new songs, really focusing in on what you want to do here and make sure that as you were writing these and these were getting produced and everything was being put together, recorded for them, that you were making sure that everything flowed the way you wanted to flow, everything hit the way you wanted to hit. And especially with 100%. The emotion and like with the emotion, all these tracks, you wanted that to match up exactly what you were trying to present.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, you know, as soon as COVID hit, I pretty much, you know, we all essentially hit our home studios and just started writing. Like what I can say is we do have a bunch of songs lined up. We have a good couple handfuls, and you know, that's the product of us all just being at home writing because of COVID. And you know, it's some of the most true and honest material that we've ever had, and you know, it definitely paid off.
I feel like the timing of COVID kind of like benefited us in a way because like it gave us the exact amount of time that we needed to step back from the scene and like, you know, not playing shows. It was really sad, but like at the same time it gave us more time, like you said, for us to kind of like write music and then like sit down and really focus on like
decide where we want to go. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We really honed in on like what we want to portray as a band.
We definitely really found more of our sound with this newer material. Like it's, you know, it's how it is, but like I just feel like we were kind of like with the first release we had like a couple of years ago, it was kind of like we knew what we wanted, but we just didn't know how to get there essentially. But when COVID hit, we started writing more music. We kind of like found something. We like wrote one song that was kind of like what we wanted. Like, okay, like this could be really cool. Like, how about, you know, we just keep doing this and see what happens. And we kept doing that, and we kept writing more music, and we found us, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a great way to look at it as well. And it's been a big thing that I've been looking at ever since I really started interviewing bands on a consistent basis on this podcast, which oddly enough had started like a couple of weeks before the pandemic hit. So I've been doing this consistently. And that was always one of the big questions I had, especially in March and April and May of 2020, where it was, okay, yeah, we're completely shut down now. So what is the plan like going forward for those bands? And it was always interesting hearing what people were planning on doing or thinking about doing. And then, of course, as time has gone on, now we're in 2021. And the questions I ask is, you know, what's the plan, of course, going forward for the rest of the year for 2021? But I also ask, what were you guys doing back in 2020 when all this stuff was happening? Because I know there were probably a good amount of bands that didn't know what was going on and kind of held back and were just waiting it out and seeing what happened. And kind of just being like, oh, you know, I wish it was the other way. I wish we were still playing shows. But what you guys did was you took the time. It was, yeah, you pulled back from this. You pulled back from being more active, like on social media and stuff from the scene. But it was probably the right move in the end because you found out exactly what you want to do. You're able to write and really kind of take a look and see, okay, when it comes to Dreamwake, what is the sound that we want to have? Exactly. What's the thing that gets us all hyped and up, you know, to wake up in the morning and listen to this stuff, work on this stuff, to the point where when live shows return, we go out on stage and the music that we're presenting is exactly what we want to present. So when we go out there and say, we are Dreamwake, and we start playing that those songs, it's like people are going to look at those and say, when I'm thinking of Dreamwake, this is what I'm thinking of. This is the core sound behind what they have.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and we've we also just took a lot of time to learn about our weaknesses as a band too, which is important, like we always feel like our strong points comes to playing live shows. Like that's where we really shine. That's our best, that's where we do our best. But a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, like promoting yourself and putting yourself out there, we did a lot of learning about that this year too, that we probably wouldn't have taken such a step back and looked at if this didn't happen. So that's another thing.
Agree.
We learned
Definitely.
a lot about what we need to do as a band behind the scenes,
We
and
sharpened our skills.
how to really
Definitely.
go about things the quote unquote right way, or how we think we should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because especially if your strong point is playing live shows, then if that's being taken away, then you have to take a look at other aspects and see, okay, maybe, because one thing I'm still a big proponent of is like, if you have a strength, definitely double down on that strength, because that's going to be the thing that is going to be the most comfortable for you and you're going to carry it. But in this instance, your strength was essentially taken away. So it was, let's take a look.
To like learn
Yeah.
everything all over
Sink or
again,
swim.
essentially,
Yeah, and instead of sitting there and just waiting for the water to overtake you and then sink to the bottom and start sleeping with the fishes, you end up swimming, and all of a sudden, next thing you notice certain things about promoting your music, certain things about your sound as well, and creating it, and making sure that when it comes time for you guys to release new music like you just did, and then for live shows to return, you guys have all these different strengths and all these different built-up skill sets in your arsenal, not only from a musical and a performance side, but also more the business side of it as well, in terms of marketing, promotion, potential, shopping for a record deal if you guys are ever going to do something like that, taking a look and seeing how that works and understanding the nuances of that, because we do know the horror stories of bands and record contracts. I mean, I'll play this way. We all know the story of Victory Records and A Day to Remember. We all know what happened there. And it's kind of like you guys are able to take the time to make sure you knew certain ins and outs of it, so that if you get put into a position for a record deal at some point in the future, you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for, and you can already kind of figure out and see if these labels are going to be shopping themselves to you, then what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, and maybe some of the telltale signs of, oh, you said this in this way, but every time I hear it this way, I know what that means, and that might not be something we want to go into. So you just like that one little quick tidbit. It's like, okay, thank you for your time, but we're not going with you, sir.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we definitely did a lot of learning in that aspect. So that was another positive of us being at home.
Yeah.
No one really knows what actually goes into it, or no one really talks about it, I guess I should say. Like, obviously a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't really see how much work goes into the behind the scenes business side.
It's a lot of stuff, man.
It's a lot of stuff you don't even really want
it always
to do,
it always
to be
just
honest,
keeps
but
going. There's always something that's like,
you got to take care of.
yeah, there's
But
always
it's,
something. It's
it's
never
all-
just dead.
It's all for the sake of getting your music out there and doing what you love. So, you do it, and it's
our
a lot of
passion.
work, but it's,
It's
the strength
it's
that
worth
we've
it though.
built up over the past year.
Oh, absolutely. Because if I'll put it this way, if you ask me like what goes into like releasing a single or releasing an album, and but like at this time last year, I probably would have looked and said, I don't really know. But over time doing this podcast and hearing what different bands have gone through and be able to openly talk about the process of this, because of course people are going to be interested in it at some point due to the fact that you guys releasing music. Like, how do you do this? And other bands that are growing as well, how do these other bands go about this, and kind of are able to learn from the successes of bands like you guys, or bands that are also coming out with new music, maybe more on an independent side of things, just because you're seeing what all comes in there. I mean, how when I got to talk to Diamante with her new album coming out on the 7th of May, with her doing it all independently and hearing all the stories that she had going through that, I'm finding out more and more about what it takes in terms of distributing an album, making sure it gets to the right place when it comes to a tour, understanding where you want to go and how to plan these things out, and what's going to work best in terms of ticket sales, what works best in terms of merch sales, all that kind of stuff. Or even taking a look at another example, look at While She Sleeps, with what they did with their releasing their album independently, and literally having their road crew and their whole entire team to work on the distribution of it, which unfortunately took them from the potential to be charted for it. But if you looked at the numbers and how many sales they got in the first week, they should have charted at number 4 in the UK.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's just a lot.
Yeah. So the thing is that you can start seeing those parallels, and they're starting to become more of a there's been a little bit of a light shine on the process behind when bands go through, okay, when it comes time to whether it's a song or record, EP, whatever it might be, from conception to delivery and everything in between. People are starting to see a little bit more of that. And through me talking to you guys on the podcast and other bands as well, I'm starting to see some of the other nuances that come in there when it comes to, okay, writing this stuff, maybe working on it as a band overall, instead of after writing it to figure out what works, what doesn't, what you want to try, what you don't want to try, recording and seeing how everything works, mixing, mastering, marketing, and then delivering that single at the same time as well, and everything else in between there. Because I know I didn't include everything in that little tidbit, but I included like a good amount of the main points, but there is so much more in there.
Just a lot of random stuff that you don't even think about. Like, sometimes I'll tell my friends at work, like what I have to deal with as far as the business side go. And it's just stuff that you don't even think about. Like, why do you even have to do that? But it's always just, like, there's so many moving parts that go into it, but that's just how it is.
At the end of the day, it's like so satisfying though, after like, lining everything up, getting everything all situated.
Yeah.
And then like executing.
Yeah. Launching a single and watching the fireworks happen.
Yeah, it was a lot of work leading up to that release. Like a lot of work, a lot of stress, a lot of arguments.
I took off work. I was like, I can't be at
a lot
work.
of just like, but we eventually, got it all done and it launched, and it's so far doing really well. So we're really happy with it.
Yeah.
And that's the key as well. And well, how about we actually jump into the track as well? Because especially with really figuring out about the track, I mean, whenever I listen to something like this and I have a band in the podcast, especially if there's a new song, new album coming out, I will always do my own deep dive into it due to the fact that I want to know the most about the song, to the point where I want to understand what you guys are trying to achieve on this song. And also in my mind, was that achieved at the same time as well, in terms of delivery on the message, how the instrumentals work with all the different sounds, how if they mix in together, if the emotions work well, and if there's something that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of, I will try and do three things. One, I'll try and figure out why I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Two, why the artist put that in there, what the purpose behind it was. Yep. And three, does it also make sense in my mind? Maybe it's something where if I don't like it, I'll explain why, but I'll always give an insane amount of context behind it, because there are times where it's like, it just doesn't hit me very well. But then again, when it comes to the music that I listen to, I like everything so brash and upfront and raw that's just my kind of sound. Yeah. My favorite genres are punk rock, hard rock, and metalcore. So if it's not delivered straight to my face, then I feel like it might not be the bit like thing I'm like kind of pulling back on. But I always do that just for context purposes. So then when I go into a song, if I'm trying to give my opinion on it, or I'm trying to talk to someone about the song, if I can deliver it the best way possible, that's pretty much what I go with.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd ask about Luna is, when you guys were coming up with this song, what was the whole entire process? What was the inspiration behind the song? And what were you guys, when it came to the lyrics, when it came to the message behind the song, what was that message? Because I was trying to figure it out, and I want to see if what I figured out matched up with what you guys wanted. However, the other thing too is when it comes to messages, we're all going to relate the messages to the song maybe a little bit differently, because
which is something we like to do.
That's kind of like how we write the songs lyrically. I mean, I guess I can start this answer off, but the song roughly is just about like running from yourself in a way. Like it's like from you, like running from all the toxic traits and all like the bad habits and like all the bad parts of yourself. Like you can only run from them for so long. Like it's always going to catch up with you at the end of the day. You can't really run from them. You have to like kind of just face them head on and like address them. But like the song was very aggressive because I wanted the song to be. The song is very angry. It's like, about the person being very upset with himself, very like just angry that they're in this constant like vicious cycle of just like, self-sabotage and whatnot. So I wanted the instrumentals to be very like, in your face and just like aggressive, because like the state I was in when I wrote the lyrics, I was just very angry and like upset. So I wanted to just kind of like portray that as best I could, and and then we all kind of just collaborated. It came from one riff, and then we all kind of collaborated and made it a whole song. But that's like pretty much just like you can only run from yourself for an X amount of time. Like it's always going to catch up to you at some point, unless you just face it head on and just kind of like address it and work through it.
Interesting, because I'll say I took it a little, like the meaning behind it. I kind of took it a little bit differently.
Okay, I'm curious to see what you think.
Okay, now when just a little bit of a fair warning. If you guys see me talking about this and it seems like I'm turning my head, not looking at you guys, it's because I've got a whole entire note sheet of what I thought of the song written up on a different screen. And the reason I keep looking over there is because I don't want to fuck this up. That's behind it. So when I was going through it, I was trying to like understand the meaning of it. That's always the first thing I try and understand because of how I relate to the meaning. And then of course, because that's going to always show where the instrumentals are going, where the vocals are going, and how everything's tied in my mind. That's just how I work. And I thought it was like kind of like recognizing that there's a light to be found in the darkness when we were having troubles in life. And we were looking for those positive points to try and better ourselves. Because I was taking a look at trying to figure out if there's any historical context behind the name, like the word Luna or the name Luna, because I kept thinking Luna, lunar. There's got to be something about that. And Luna is technically the Roman god of the moon. So I'm thinking, especially go back to Roman times, this is, basically when the time of Jesus. And you think about, no electricity, only kind of light during the day is the sun. The only kind of light at night is either if you got fire or the moonlight. So it's just in the darkness, what's that one beacon that you see? It's the moon. So it's kind of in that dark time, you kind of take a look at that light and that there's a light in the darkness.
Yeah, that's kind of like, it ties into what I kind of wrote. Like, it's pretty cool. That's that's
a cool interpretation.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. Like there's something kind of like, that's kind of far from you that's guiding you in a way, kind of like just like, it's that small ray of hope when you're feeling like really down in yourself or just really lost. Like there's always that one small ray of just like, things might be better eventually,
And, I mean, when you're facing things like we mentioned in the song, might feel really dark, but if you keep your eye on that one piece of light, you can get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you keep your mind on that one piece of hope that you're able to get through it. And again, I'll put it this way. It's kind of interesting because it does tie into what the original meaning was that you said, Bobby, because when you take a look at it, you're taking a look at it more on the front end of it, where you have all these problems, you constantly trying to run away from them. But if you keep trying to run away from them, those problems, they're always going to be a little bit faster than you. You might be ahead of them at some point, but they're always going to be faster. You're going to catch up.
They catch up to you eventually.
Yeah. So it's like that's the first half, and I kind of looked at it as the second half, where those problems have already caved in on you, and you're trying to break away from them. And that light is the beacon of hope afterwards. But then again, that also could come in terms of what the personal experiences that each listener has had in terms of how they're going to interpret this. Myself, I always kind of take a look at that light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, just through the fact that we're still towards the end of the pandemic, hopefully. And again, starting to see live shows potentially come back. The hope is that beacon and it's there. And I'm starting to see that light where it's like, we are finally coming to the point where we're going to be able to get back to live shows. Plus, if I go back to when I wasn't go back 4 years in 2017, I felt like there was no hope, like for my life. It was just, there was horrible things just were not happening well for my mindset, and I hated where my life was going, and it felt like, why even be alive at this point? So and music ended up being that one little beacon of hope that was like, nah, you can keep going, it'll get better, get better. So kind of those different experiences also influence your overall interpretation of each and every song you listen to. The core, of course, is going to be the base. The core of the message is going to be the same across everybody because that's what's going to be delivered. But how everybody takes it, it's all going to depend on their personal experience.
Yes. Right. And that's kind of exactly what we wanted to portray too. We don't want to give it a negative connotation in the sense where you're angry, upset, and fighting bad things about yourself. But we want to let people know that they're not alone, and we struggle with stuff too, and everybody struggles with stuff. You're going to have to go through stuff in life, and it's not always going to be easy. But that one beacon of hope will get you through, and you can overcome whatever as long as you keep that beacon of hope.
Absolutely, because it's just if you made something that was just like straight negative, it wasn't going to work. But it's something where you're trying to connect with the fans at the same point as well. Where, like Bobby said, where it's just you're trying to run away from hardships, personal problems, personal things that are keeping you down, and you're trying to avoid them. We all go through something like that. We're trying to avoid the negative things in our life. But if we keep trying to avoid them, the more they're going to grow, the bigger they're going to get, the faster they're going to get, and they're going to catch up to us. So it's the connection that, you guys aren't the only ones going through this. As musicians, we're going through this too. Yeah. Kind of just taking that from your perspective, it connects with the fans in a certain way where like myself listening to this track, I connected with it in a way kind of what happens after those negative emotions, those bad times when they catch up with you. What happens when that happens? How does this track look? And it's just, you take a look at, there's that beacon of hope in the night, and it's, you just got to focus on it because there's going to be so many other dark times, bad things that do happen. But if you keep focusing on the positive, what's going to happen is all of a sudden those dark times are going to go away because hell, the sun's going to come up.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good mindset to keep when you're kind of like in that, that slump or whatever you want to call it. Cause I look at life as like a pendulum, like kind of constantly swinging, and like, you're going to be like, on one side and eventually you will be on the other side. It's constantly, that's kind of like how life is too, is like life's always going to throw you like its own challenges and its own, like, it's not always going to be easy. Like life isn't totally just like, rainbows and like sunshine, there's battles to be fought, all throughout. And like, you're not going through it alone. Like there's other people out there that are going through, like maybe not the same thing you are, but, very similar things, or just, their own struggles. So.
Yeah. It's kind of, think about at times life is like South Park's Imagination Land, where you're going to have the sunshine and rainbows and all the great stuff on one side. That's kind of like when you're going through life and you're just like, everything seems to be going right. You're on top of your game. You're on top of the world, if that's what it feels like. But then there's also that bear with all the evil stuff on the other side, where that's your dark times. And also there are times where those dark times and those good times, they kind of intertwine. And that's like, again, like the battle for Imagination Land right there.
It really is, though.
I can't believe I just made an Imagination Land reference.
In the song, and being that like, you kind of can't have good without the bad. You can't have bad without the good. So like, no matter what there is, you can't really ever run from the bad because it's in a way always going to be there.
It's inevitable.
You have to kind of face it head on. So we kind of, the way I interpret it, which may be the way anybody else does, I'm happy that we all arrived on the name Luna. But like, the way I interpret it is, everybody has, like, if you imagine like the sun opposite as like the good, and then moon as like your darker energy, or like darker feelings, darker thoughts, whatever. Not dark thoughts, vibrant minds. But like it's the back and forth, and you in a way can't have one without the other.
It's
and true. You can try to run, but the only way to face the parts of yourself that you're not happy with are to actually address them head on. And this is just our testament to trying to do that with ourselves and grow.
And again, for everyone listening, just see the amazing thing that just happened, where we all have different, like, if you look at like the specifics are interpretations of the song, they're all kind of different, but they all deal with that core of, there are bad times and there are good times, and it all depends upon what side you look at it. Are you trying to avoid the bad times? Can you not have the bad with the good? When you're in those bad times, how do you make sure that you stay positive during those bad times? Because you don't want those bad times to last forever. And they won't last forever, because nothing lasts forever. But when it seems like they do, what's that thing that you can do to make sure, like, that focus on that positivity to make sure you get through this? It's just insane, where the fact that we all kind of have these different, like, specific interpretations of it. But when it gets down to the core of the message of the song, it is in the exact same realm.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, that's the beauty of music right there.
Exactly.
And that's, that's something we try to portray through all of our music too, is like that endearing feeling, like throughout the instrumentals, lyrically, everything, we want to make people feel, people feel endeared,
Yeah. Like you said before, like music kind of saved your life, and, as it did for me too. And I can probably say you guys and like a few other people, but like, it's just that, once I felt that feeling of comfort and like listening to music that kind of like I was able to like relate to, and like I didn't feel alone. Like I knew right there, like that's why I love music so much. And like, and that's why, we kind of brought that to the table with us, and we kind of made that our messages. Like, we've at one point each felt like, like we couldn't go any further. And then like, I'm sure we've each, turned to music at some point, our favorite band, and like just vibed out to like an album or something, like all the way through. And like, you feel a bit better afterwards. It's like almost like a session of therapy,
And that's something we want to deliver to other people too.
Exactly. And we want to kind of like extend that and help, it's going to sound generic, but we kind of want to like help everyone else that experiences. Like I want people to feel that comfort that I felt at that one point, you know, like something like that. Like I want to help everyone else that feels helpless. I want to make them connect with them and make them feel comforted, I guess.
And make them feel like, you know, if they feel helpless, that, you know, there are times where, again, there's going to be times where things are bad. There's going to be times, though, where things are good, and those bad times are not going to last forever. And it's when it comes to these times when people are going to listen to your music, they're going to be able to connect with that to a point where they're going to be able to, at times, not necessarily, I would say, forget about the bad times, but remember about the good times and be inspired by the fact that those good times do come back. Because I'll bring up kind of a story that kind of ties into this. Back in 2017, when I was just not doing well at all, I didn't even want to listen to my favorite band anymore. And the reason behind that was because a lot of things that happened the year prior that ended up just kind of going south in the end. Yeah. A lot of new emotions, a lot of new memories were tied into a lot of the songs I listened to from this band. I'm like, I can't listen to this. However, the one saving grace at that point was the fact that they came out the new album right before everything went to shit. So I didn't have those bad memories tied to that album.
Okay.
They ended up playing in Janesville, Wisconsin at a very small music festival. They headlined it, and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm taking my favorite band back at this moment. I waited at the stage. I'm like, Stone Sour's playing next. I could go see Corey Taylor, but I am not moving from here. Nope, not doing it. Sitting there waiting, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I hope to God that I just feel better. All of a sudden, here it comes. Rise Against goes on stage, and from the first note, I had completely forgotten about anything that was bad in my life.
That feeling, bro. That feeling of just, you know, like...
That's literally why we play music, you know?
It is.
I want to give that feeling to other people. And
that's what we feel, especially when we're playing our own music, like, even during practice, we all just kind of just, like, all, like... It's like...
You just put your whole amount of emotion into it. And when you can completely zone into it, it's, like, the best feeling ever. You know what I mean?
You leave all your problems at the door. You leave all your problems at the door. You come in, you vibe out, we jam out. We all just connect on this certain wavelength. You can feel it. It's weird. It's just like, it's such a nice and like warm feeling. And we want to kind of like do that in a live setting and like connect everyone at the same time. And like, just, I don't know, everyone just kind of, it's like on the same page in a way, you know?
Being completely in the moment is a magical
and the connection. That's just the best part about music is the connection.
I'll put it this way, because I've talked about this plenty of times, and I've pretty much got this down to my own theory, where it's the reason why that happens, especially at the live shows, because everyone's at that live show due to the fact that there is a band that is there that night on stage, whether it's you guys, whether it's whoever else you're playing with, that they connect with in this incredibly emotionally positive way.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it might not be the same band that's on stage, that's going to be on stage at that point that I like, that I'm there for that reason. Or it might be the same band, but the reason for the positivity might be completely different. But what's the key? We all relate to something with that band. We all connect that band, whoever it is, in a positive way. That is the utmost key. So that's why when you go to a rock and metal show, in my opinion, it's a whole entire family vibe, because we're all there. We check our problems at the door. We're like, no, you fuckers stay out there. We're having fun here. Hell, people get into a mosh pit like myself, we'll just go absolutely apeshit. It'll look like we're trying to kill each other, but at the end of the set, hell, we're giving everybody high fives and hugs, and we're happy as all hell. Even if someone's bleeding all over the place, we're like, dude, fuck yeah, woo!
Exactly. Dude, I'll literally get done with a show, and my entire back and neck will be I'll feel like I'm paralyzed for a little bit because I went so hard, but it's just so worth it. You know what I mean? You just put everything into it, and it's just what I live for, to be honest.
Let the music kind of come out of your body.
It's just weird. And it's just it's like the biggest outlet that we have. It's just a very powerful thing.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the style of music that you guys play well, especially on Luna, because it did have that heavier, fast-paced style. And one thing I was trying to think about was, like, especially because when I got the message about your band and, like, taking a look at it, seeing kind of like there was, like, kind of, if you like a band like Era, you're going to like this. And I literally went through a whole entire Era run through because I really hadn't listened to the band beforehand. I made a whole entire video before, like, the week before. I'm like, do I like the band or not? Like, really trying to figure it out.
They're a great band.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I'm like, okay, what kind of style of Era am I getting, though? Am I going to get the first two albums where it's a lot heavier, but also, you're going to get that lighter guitar up in there to really create that contrast? Or you get something more like albums 3 and 4 where you're going to get that, but there's a lot more of like an electronic synth that's over it? or you get something like their self-titled that came out in 2021 that kind of mixes both what 1 and 2 did and what 3 and 4 did and put it all together.
Yeah.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Definitely.
That's what I was
mean,
gonna.
if I could speak on that,
Go for it.
Bob and I are probably the biggest era fans in the band. We swear by their first 2 albums, I have to say.
Augment
Impulse
and
Augment.
Impulse, yeah.
Those, you know.
Oh, Augment just literally took me. I'm like, how the fuck did it take me this long to listen to this shit? Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah. It's just what got us into a more progressive style, like spacey style metalcore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very like ambient.
More, it took us out of that like post-hardcore realm and really took us into the more riffy style.
Yeah.
A lot more taste into metal. You know what I mean? And that Impulse album.
It's funny that
one of the best.
I don't know. Like whenever we play shows or when we used to play shows, like almost every show someone would come up to us afterwards like, oh my god, you guys are so sick, you guys sound just like Era.
A lot of
like,
people say that.
You get that like literally all the time. But like, it makes sense though, because like you said, it's like at the core of our writing, and just like at the background of like us as musicians. It's just we've always kind of.
And it's funny because I didn't really think about it like that
Me
when
neither.
I first started. I was like, oh, this is just really cool. But when I look back, it was like that was probably my start into more riffy, progressive style metalcore. So.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like when I was trying to figure out like if the song was like kind of like on an Era album, what album would this fit on? Just because I'm just trying to make it so that I can connect with it myself, and I'm like, this would definitely fit on their most recent one because it does have that more synthy part over it. However, it still has that heaviness there, so it's kind of the mix of everything. And looking at what Era did on their self-titled one, it kind of had that mix as well. So I'm like, if they put that on that album, I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference.
I mean, I have to say, I'm really, first
of all, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But their self-titled came out way after we wrote all of our songs. But I'm actually thoroughly impressed with their self-titled album that they just came out with. It's very good. It does have a lot of elements of their old stuff, which I immediately connected with, and I think they took what they did with like their more recent albums, Drift and Neon, I think it was called.
Yeah.
They took those elements and made them better, in my opinion. So I think that's a fantastic album.
And also for everyone listening, I'm not saying that Dreamwake is like Era. What I'm saying is if you're trying to like think of a band, like, okay, if I like this band, what band would I like that kind of fits into the same style? Again, I'm just going to use Era as the example because it is a good example to go with. So that's why I'm bringing it up as the connection in terms of like if fans are trying to relate this to, okay, if I like Dreamwake, like if I'm going to like Dreamwake, like what kind of band would I like? And like Era would be your perfect one to go with. North Lane being another one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're another huge inspiration of ours for sure.
North Lane is sick.
Yeah.
I love North Lane. Have you heard the new album or the new single by North Lane?
Album and single.
I heard the latest single because I actually got it sent to me and I'm like, holy shit, can we get them on the podcast? But for that round for the single, they were only doing email press for it. So I was like, if you're gonna write an article or something like that, and I'm like, damn. But then I got the message. It's like, yeah, but when they're gonna be doing podcast runs, we will let you know. We'll try and figure something out. I'm just thinking.
That's sick.
Well, hopefully,
that's so sick. Dude, North Lane riffs. Yeah, they're another band that's just like almost at the backbone of our writing is like all that fall.
Yeah.
Wait, where's your shirt?
Oh shit! All right, hold on.
Hang on.
Ready? If you like heavy ass shit like
Fall,
Humanity's Last Breath and Viljarda, can you read this?
No,
Thal, THALL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. There we go.
Oh, baby.
Thal.
Oh man.
Perfect. But kind of going into the song will give people a little bit more of a taste of it just to see kind of where I was going because right from the intro, I'm like, I kind of was curious by the riff because it kind of sounded like a heavier, fast paced, but also kind of sound like it was like an 8-bit or 16-bit video game song at the same time as well. But then all of a sudden you go into it, like get back in the intro and it goes this heavier, faster paced riff, more bursting with kind of a classic metalcore taste. Again, looking at my notes of this and honestly, I kind of like that intro, even though there's a lot of times, like I said, I like the heavier, faster, like kind of more in your face, more rougher, raw kind of style. But that 8-bit feel kind of gives it like that little bit of a synth over it. And I liked it because it shows us where the song is going. And it's going to use that as a complement instead of like the core of it. So it's going to end up seeing how they can bring this heavier metalcore style in and complement it with this lighter, synthier, kind of like more electronic sound. And then as we got we got into the full on intro, the guitars, the contrast, the heavier tone, like with the drums and also the lighter riff on top of it. Again, I thought very similar to what I would think when I went through the whole entire era run through. And I was like, I'm a fan of this because it creates variation in the pace. It creates variation in the diversity of the sound. It created a lot of that right from the intro. So I'm just like, damn, we get ourselves into some shit here. This is awesome.
Yeah, that song definitely has a lot to deliver. But yeah, thank you very much, man.
We really aimed, like, since we weren't around the scene for very long, like, we wanted to come back with like a really powerful, just like balls to the wall, like explosive.
Yeah.
So we just really focused on making that like that first, like the first couple seconds of what you hear, like has to be like absolutely just like balls to the wall, like on fire.
Catch your attention right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think something else we should touch on in this podcast, which we haven't really talked about yet, is synthwave.
Yes.
The opposite side of our influence, aside from the heavy stuff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, we'll talk about this with everybody because it's just something we're really trying to incorporate into our music. But synthwave, I don't know if you've heard synthwave, if you know what it is.
I know exactly
what it is.
I'll put it this way. I know exactly what it is due to the fact that, do you guys know the band Outlier at all?
Yes.
Okay, so they're frontman Joey, during the pandemic, he decided to start a synthwave project because he wanted to give it a shot, and he was working on it with Justin DeBleek, former guitarist for Ice Nine Kills.
Oh.
And I ended up finding out about it because they wanted to talk about it on the podcast, both of them, and I'm just like, yeah, mostly because I'm a huge Ice Nine Kills fan. I'm like, bring it on. And I've interviewed Joy before for Outlier, and they came up with they did a whole entire synthwave cover of Dreams by Van Halen.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna have to hear that.
Check it out because I thought it was damn good, and I don't really care that much for like just straight synthwave, but I listen to it just because I know what Dreams by Van Halen sounds like, of course. Yeah. And the fact of the matter was, like, if you look into it, they got both like the thumbs up from Sammy Hagar on it. They got Sammy Hagar to Sammy Hagar even wrote a post about it saying it was his favorite cover of all time of any of the songs.
Sick. That's really cool.
And then he made a video about it as well on top of it. Like, he just kept going, like, promoting it. So definitely check it out. It's the band that project is called Arena.
Arena.
And then it's Dreams. It's Dreams. It's covered by Dreams by Van Halen.
Really? Yeah. I've definitely heard of that name. Yeah.
Yeah. So go check it out, because if synthwave is definitely a big influence in your band, which I can tell it is, I think you're gonna really enjoy it, just because it takes like what Dreams, especially being made in the 80s, it basically takes what Van Halen did, but like makes it that like straight 80s synthwave pop. But then there's also a little bit of a guitar solo that Justin does on it, and it literally like goes with the whole entire Eddie Van Halen signature, but it goes a little bit like not as, crazy and fast, because you're not gonna be able to match Eddie on what he did on it. But it fits the overall flow of the song so damn well. So it's like, damn, synthwave, you guys did this good as shit. So I can see where you're coming from with that, and so I do know what synthwave is. I just wanted to put that out there.
We love us some synthwave.
We like, aside from metal, we're just synthwave
huge synthwave junkies. I don't know if you're familiar with a band called The Midnight, but The Midnight and who else?
FM84 is a huge influence of mine as well. Time Cop, 1983, Pilot with a Y.
Okay, I've heard some of these names, but I really haven't listened to a lot of the music though. But like the names are.
It just sounds nostalgia. We essentially want to just like take that nostalgia from all that stuff and kind of cram it into our own sound.
Yes. Cram it.
We pull from so many influences, and we just found
a whole lot
what we perceive as our favorite combination of everything. So
that's definitely it.
But if you.
Oh, go ahead.
Check out The Midnight. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, check out The Midnight. The Midnight is definitely the best.
They're an incredible band.
They are the kings of synthwave.
Well, we're going to have to do that as well. But of course, also for everyone else too, check out Dreamwake. I mean, I think that's a good way to go about it too. If you want to listen to some that like synthwave, synthcore, that might be a good way to put it. Synthcore.
Wavecore TM.
We've been saying.
That's a good way to put it, and I think I hadn't even written down too of it being wavecore, so that's on me. I messed up on that one.
It's all good, dude. It's all good.
We toyed with synthcore, retrocore, and then we landed on wavecore, and we were like, you know what? That sounds.
That's
good.
it.
Wavecore is the one.
Could have had
just quit the band. So bye, Andy.
I gotta quit the band.
Anyone want to drum for Dreamwake?
Well, I was gonna say, because even going through the song even further with him leaving, I mean, there's a part here, especially going in the verses, because you kind of kept that, like, from that heavier intro, you kind of kept the style going in there. The higher pitch on the guitar kind of had a little bit of like a genty flavor to it to kind of add a little more of that wavecore part to it. But what I really liked about it, again, now that he's gone, I'll say it without him here, is the drumming on it, because it had more consistent, faster pace instead of just like that normal metalcore burst style, like the it was just more consistent with it. But how consistent it was, because it kept the energy of the song up from the intro consistently, but it also didn't compromise on the original sound at the same time as well with the guitar. So everything flowed really well in there in terms of going from that intro to that first verse. I'm just like, everything kind of like where I was expecting, like, okay, I think this is gonna go a little bit heavier, but also keep that guitar to really contrast it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping the drums just really keep that energy going, and the consistent flow of them instead of the burst.
Keep it at 11 the entire way. Like I was saying before, it has to just be absolute, just like maniac status. Like,
it's probably the most fully aggressive song, all throughout pretty much every new song we've written.
Yeah, that's probably the heaviest.
It holds the aggressiveness pretty much the whole entire time. So
yeah, it does, especially going to the pre-chorus as well, because it does kind of go with a similar sound, but it's kind of a more pronounced burst at that point as well. It still kind of has that more consistent pace, but you can tell there's a little bit of a burst in there. However, the guitar, again, had a little bit more of that genty influence like what we saw in the verses, kind of dropped out a little bit to have a heavier style for the pre-chorus. And I was a fan of this because you're bringing in the possibility of bringing more of that wavecore synth style into the song later, like for the chorus. Yeah. But you're leading it in through contrast by going heavier at the same point as well, because especially a lot of times when we see something like in a very metalcore trope, you're going with something heavier to lead into a chorus, and the chorus seems to always tend to have like a little bit of a lighter feel to it. So so bringing in that kind of a contrast, I was like, if you're gonna go with something a little bit more of that wavecore kind of style at this point, it makes sense to lead into something like this because you're maintaining that heaviness, but you're also kind of transitioning to it well at the same time at the same point.
Contrast, so like you said,
yeah.
Also, by the way, Andrew, get out. Kevin's drumming for us now.
All right, good looks, bro.
You probably don't want me drumming for you guys because I only drummed between the ages of 10 and 14, and the amount of drum heads that I broke was kind of alarming. I was very aggressive.
You're in. That's fine.
Yeah, you're in. He does the same shit.
So what a coincidence. Me too.
All right, then perfect. But also going through it, and Andrew, you did miss it out because I did praise your drumming in the verses on this song as well. So I'll give you a little bit of that. But we got to the chorus because you go back to that like rapid style with a little bit of that higher distortion on the guitar. Drums give us more of this melodic feel, in my opinion, behind that metalcore bass. But then the synth comes in to really kind of smooth over this part, and it was how the synth worked against that heavier drumming alongside the guitars. I thought it worked out well. The one thing that was a little bit kind of drawn back was on the drumming on this one. I thought it was just a little too far back in terms of the mix because I thought if you kind of had a little bit more pronounced, that contrast with the synth would have been even greater and it would have brought out a little bit more.
You said?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something where it's like if I'm gonna bring up something like I'm not entirely sure like if I'm a fan of this part or not, I will tell you guys why. But like I said, I'm gonna give you context behind why I thought that, and I'll also put it this way: take my opinion with a grain of salt.
It was also constructive criticism.
Right, I mean, we can take constructive.
Yeah, we like to hear what other people think. So
exactly, and I think that may just be a mixed thing, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because certain things, I mean, it's a lot of layers. We have as you can tell, we have a lot of layers going into our song. So,
Yeah, and that's actually one thing I did want to ask about as well, because one thing that I had a little bit of a question on was you go after that first chorus and you're kind of going back into the second verse. And I love the use of having a deeper bass line in there because it just brought out just like so much more of this deeper sound, this little bit more of an aggressive sound. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. This is nice. Yeah. However, where I kind of had a little bit of a question on it was, because then this is like the electronic synth kind of comes in and it really takes over what the second verse is going to have. And it's really pronounced. And I was just kind of, in my opinion, especially with using I always go to the vocal second, but hearing the vocals in this one, I wasn't sure kind of what the idea was behind having that synth, especially more the distortion being a lot heavier going into the second verse, just because in my opinion, it kind of drowned out a lot of the other things that were going on in that part. So I just kind of want to know what was the idea behind putting such a high distortion going into the second verse?
Second verse.
The bass part.
The bass part.
Right?
Yeah, it's bass, and then you go into the second verse, and it's just because I think Bobby, your vocals are very, very distorted at that point as well.
Oh, after the bass part.
Yeah, after the bass.
I mean, to be honest, it was kind of, we wanted to do something. The part directly after that is where we kind of drop tuned everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like we wanted to sort of have something to build up to it correctly. You don't want to all the time just go directly into something. I feel like, at least in our own interpretation, when we write music, sometimes we want to leave people kind of like, all right, what's going to happen, and like make them wait a little bit for that big drop. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's kind of it's meant as like, a flashy riff piece, but also something to kind of build up to the next heavy part. Yeah, because it may not have sounded right if we just went straight to the super low part.
Yeah, definitely. Like, kind of just like what we wanted to carry on with that line that the bass was kind of carrying for the first part. But we didn't want to I don't know, like make it too crowded. I don't know. I kind of wanted to that part was really, it was up in the air for a little bit, but I just feel like the way it came out, I don't know. I feel like the pre-pro sounded differently, didn't it? I feel like with like what we did in the studio and like what we eventually came to, it kind of just wound up sounding like that.
It just spoke to us a little bit more that way. And it totally, now that I'm thinking about it, it totally could have just gone into the part you're speaking of, and then the drop tune part. It could have done that, but we just felt that riff was, it meant something where it was. So, it kind of added a separate dynamic to the song that wasn't there before.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like that bass riff that kind of led into it. I really like that bass riff that led into it, because I'm just like, holy shit, this is something different. But then it's when you get to that second verse and that electronic synth, it's just in the distortion on it. It was much more prominent than I had seen it beforehand. And then Bobby, on your vocals as well, it was a lot more prominent, that distorted them a little bit more than what we had beforehand. In my mind, I necessarily wasn't sure what the hell was going on.
Yes. I think that was an idea of our producer,
our engineer.
Yeah. Because
right?
yeah. In the pre-pro, it was like when the song was demoed out, it was different. But when we went to Steve, that was like one of his ideas, like on the spot. He was like, "How about we just put some distortion?" And like, it sounded pretty cool. But I don't know. That was more so like along the lines of just like something that kind of happened on the spot.
I think what it boils down to is like along the lines of like going back to what you were saying before about the creative process, that kind of like all of these things take, and not only doing everything on the business aspect yourself, but basically kind of the creative process of coming to the point where we can actually release music. We write on our own, and then obviously we bring this to somebody else to go record it, and then that musically inclined person, hopefully who's more musically inclined than us, says, but what if you do this? Right. And then it sounds really cool. So it's just like
all in the moment.
It's just another brain to help us come up with creative ideas. And we've had an amazing team that we've kind of assembled so far, between working with Steve, who's our producer, and then even Nicholas, who's worked with us at mixing and mastering, and really kind of putting his own flair on,
there's been like numerous
it's been a really awesome like collective effort to get to where we are.
And another thing too is we try to maybe not do everything that people would expect, because when you're listening to music, you obviously sometimes you'll expect like, oh, maybe there's a breakdown here, or there's a riff coming here. It's just how it works when you're listening to a genre that you're familiar with. But sometimes we'll try to switch it up, shake and bake a little bit, add some stuff that you might not expect in a more generic setting, but
like
try to be a little different
out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. Kind of similar to like what Architects did with their song Black Lungs, where all of a sudden it's like everything was consistent, and all of a sudden after it seemed like it concluded, that they went into a whole nother breakdown right after. It's like you weren't fucking expecting that shit.
Right.
And on the second verse as well, like I wasn't expecting to have such that heavy synth, that heavy distortion over it. And again, remember like what I said earlier, it's like when I like the music that I really relate to and really connect with more, it's more that heavier, harder, in your face, more raw kind of style. So with how heavy that was, that was something I pulled back from a little bit because I'm like, I just don't know exactly what's going on. However, to what you guys said as well, because right after that, when you go into like this, you drop tune everything, and you go to this heavier kind of like pre-chorus / breakdown at the same point as well, it becomes more pronounced. Like those guitars again, you drop them again, have that heavier sound, and that synth from the second verse kind of goes to the background as well and has a heavier feel to it. And I really like this because the synth was smooth on this part and it helped kept the pacing, but the heavier pieces really contrasted well what you guys had in that second verse. So again, when it came to that second verse, while I was still kind of like, I'm not necessarily sure if this is something that like I'm really going to connect to how heavy that synth is, how heavy that distortion is. The contrast you're going for that was going to lead into that second pre-chorus / breakdown that has the more drop tune on it. That contrast was rather pronounced and it worked rather well in this case.
Yeah, definitely. I just feel like that part gets kind of like, it's kind of crowded, like with like all the layers. Like we said before, there's a bunch of layers. So like that part probably gets kind of like crowded and it kind of, you know, with the all the distortion, it kind of gets like lost in the mix. So I can fully understand why you would pull back from that. But yeah, like you said, it contrasts very well with it makes the breakdown hit even harder, you know, because like you're hearing it one way, all of a sudden like it drops and it's just, you know, it's just like it has the biggest balls ever. You know?
It's an unorthodox build-up, you know what I mean? Like we could have done a normal build-up with just like, you know, with like toms or, you know, whatever, you know.
But you would have expected that.
Right, yeah. It's, you know, it was a little more unorthodox. So that's why we tried to do it. Try to experiment a lot.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that stood out to me was like after I was like kind of like, what the hell's going on here? In my opinion, all of a sudden,
bunch of shit.
I take that as a compliment, to be honest. I absolutely love when people are like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I just did it. Fucking listen to it.
Because it was like, what the hell's going on here? I know what they're going for. Oh, fuck yeah. And all of a sudden get into that heavier break. I'm like, okay, this actually, like that contrast just worked out incredibly well. And so I'll put it this way, even there's points in times in certain songs I look at, I'm like, not necessarily like in that part, but however, there might be a time where like, you know, that heavier breakdown / pre-chorus wouldn't have necessarily hit as hard or as impactful had that crazy distortion not have been there right before it. It's a yin and yang kind of thing.
And that's kind of something I love about heavier music too, is the unexpectedness, you know, like something, it's stuff that just
gotta keep it fresh, you know. There's a bunch of bands, you know, that do a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the same stuff, but like you have to like shake it up. You have to just like throw a curveball, you know,
shake and bake.
You know, like that's what really like sets you apart. If you just kind of like, I don't know, like don't be afraid to do something different, even if you feel like nobody might like it. It's more of so like you should just like
try it.
Yeah, just try it.
Try it. Yeah.
You know,
Which
don't.
Is,
that's all I have to say.
That's just what we do with our music, is we just try it. Like that's kind of an aspect that we've built up with writing this album too. It's just like,
I mean, that's
should we do this? Well, let's just give it a
that's
shot.
Literally how when we were writing Luna, we recorded that breakdown, the drop tune part, not drop tuned, and then I forget who it was. We're like, yo, what if we just pitch shifted it like a whole octave down? And we're like all just sitting there and like playing it, and like waiting. It was building up, and like we're just waiting for it. And we're like, please sound good, please sound good, and then it hit, and we're just like, woo! Like,
see, that's the kind of risk you have to take, though, and even with those risks as well, there could be a time where it's like, you know, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? And if it sounds like it's going to work to you after you listen, it's like, well, fuck yeah, go for it. And then there's times where it's like, you know, if you're when you put it out there, there's gonna be times where, you know, certain fans are gonna really, really like what you did on it. There's gonna be certain fans that are like, what the hell's going on here? But if you kind of stayed too consistent with like, okay, we're going to do exactly what, if you look at metalcore and its bass, that's what we're going to do. It's going to be like, okay, what's kind of special about that? I mean, take a look at
why should I listen to you guys if I can listen to these guys and get the same thing, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good example of it. So it's kind of like, oh, why if you sound just like kind of like, you know, that straight metalcore sound like As I Lay Dying, why don't I just listen to As I Lay Dying instead? Right. And then take a look at all the bands that like got super duper big, especially more the metalcore side, kind of some of the crazier stuff they were doing, like Attack. I mean, they blew up with just going a little bit completely different. Using some of those keyboards in there and kind of some electronic, more dance stuff in metalcore as well. It's just like, probably people at first like, what the fuck is this? Then all of a sudden, after Stickly came out, everyone's just like, how the fuck did we not think of this before?
Too, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'd say that.
It's what keeps it fresh, man.
It's what keeps it fresh. And one other thing I have to go on to is we got to put Bobby on the spot here with them vocals because, of course, you know, if I'm going to talk about the instrumentals like crazy, that puts all three of you guys on blast. But then there's Bobby. Gotta look at him and the heavier, more raw, unclean style of the vocals, especially looking at that first verse and the pre-chorus as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, just looking at it again, making that kind of comparison to kind of that, especially with the guitars, again, a little bit higher pitched in terms of how they contrast against the heavier drumming, that metalcore style. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of Arrow like this, and I know when they're doing it, what works well kind of in their core of it. I'm like, okay, hearing this kind of style is Bobby's vocals going to hit the exact same way. And with the faster and heavier backing, those more raw, unclean styles, they work so well in kind of that classic sense. The pace was so well matched, again, to really match up with the heaviness of the drum, but then how it kept the guitars pronounced at the same time as well, did very well. In the pre-chorus, again, saw the same thing, but with less vocals and more of this like straightforward to compare with the heavy instrumentals. So I'm like, you know what? Again, it gives it that flair, really well done. But then when we got to the chorus, like the vote, you cleaned them up, got more melodic, kind of had a little bit of a distortion over them as well with the synth style. And it worked really well with the slightly slower pacing compared with the synth overlay. And I was like, this is where the mix really needed to be right, to let the vocals still stand out and have that synth stand out at the same point as well, to the point where nothing gets drowned out. And the chorus, again, that mix needed to be right. And that mix was right. Like, it was done really well. So it stood out from flowing from that first verse to the pre-chorus to the chorus. And I'm just like, damn, they like that flow just worked so well in terms of that heavier sound. And all of a sudden going to the chorus, having to clean it a little bit more, that's like synthy distortion over it to give it a little bit of a softer flow. But it worked with the synth and how it worked with the more melodic style of that part, even though it still had a heavier, faster pace to it, man, it just worked.
Thank you. Like I feel like I put a lot of time and effort into like my like I don't know, like all my syllables and what's that called again? Like
pronunciation?
Well, not that, but like what's like the certain term that's used?
Speaking?
I don't know. But I don't know. Like I don't know, but it's
articulation.
Whatever. But anyways, I really focus on like how I guess I focus a lot. I put like a lot of time on that. That's probably like where I focus the most of my time. Like it's pretty much like how I write my lyrics too. Is like before I actually write any lyrics at all, like I'll jam the song a million times and then kind of just like like hum or like like make noises with my mouth like along to like the beat and kind of like figure out like what's the most like finesse way.
No choice. That's what.
Well, that too. But like what's the most finesse way I can I can lay down lyrics without them stepping on any other instrument's toes. I kind of like make sure it flows as nice as it can. And then once I kind of figure out like I get like almost like an outline of where I need to place the words, I kind of like I write something and I kind of like narrow it down and they make it fit into those spaces so it all kind of flows as best as I can get it to flow.
You're trying to make sure that the emotions that you're feeling on this track and how they're being presented, that your pitch and your tone and everything around that is going to match up with how you want it to flow. And then the big next thing is after you figure out how you want that all to flow together, you make sure you do that and effectively do that. What words are you going to say over it then?
Exactly. That's like, but like to me, like that's like the most important like aspect of vocals though, is just like how they come out, like how they kind of like lay on the track. Like you can have like, screams at a certain part, but like if you say it the wrong way or like they kind of like overlap with something else that it shouldn't overlap with, it's not going to sound as great as it can be. You have to like, each instrument has its own voice, it has to like be heard a certain way. You can't like, I don't know, it all has a certain purpose. So like it's all kind of like it's all like a giant puzzle. You kind of have to like rearrange stuff to fit in certain spots. So like vocals definitely for me come last, and that's when I kind of like pretty much just like get like a shell of how I'm going to pronounce certain things. I kind of just cram the words into those shells and that's the song.
And something that comes out like that, and then we get something like Luna that we can all jam to
like
and just
Luna,
enjoy.
man. Like Luna.
And now that we've gone through the meaning, the instrumentals, the vocals as well, one thing I always like to do at the end of these is to try and summarize my overall feelings on it and overall. And again, if you see me turn my head and not really look at you, is because there's about, let's see how many lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines in a Microsoft Word document for this shit. And then I put overall when it comes to mixing that synthwave style metalcore all into one with that wavecore sound, I think Dreamwake, for the most part, did a great job on this track. For most of the song, they layered the synth and the lighter sound of the guitar, let the backing stay heavy to provide this great contrast while keeping up this greater, higher, faster pace energy style. Again, similar to what I found when I listened to Era, and I'm a big fan of how they accomplish this. The chorus has this great flow with the melodic metalcore style attached to it, and the synth overlaying it being mixed into contrast against the heavier pre-chorus and breakdown really did work out well. I will say again that heavy distortion on the second verse is something that personally I pull back from because it's a little... I felt like at times like the pacing still works well to really connect the overall song.
Yeah.
However, for what I listen to, what I like, for me, it kind of just like the heavy distortion, I'm like kind of confused me a little bit. But then again, the contrast it has going to that pre-chorus breakdown and the second right after it, it does work out well. So it's nothing where it's like, if it was gone, that pre-chorus might not necessarily have as powerful of a thing as it is. But then again, when I look at the song, I'm like, that's the one part I'm like kind of pulling back from. However, if it's one part I'm pulling back from, but then the rest of it is absolutely insane and it layers that synth perfectly over it for that wavecore kind of style, you can see that all of a sudden when it comes to Dreamwake, if you're fans of Air, if you're fans of Northlane, if you're fans of any of those bands, this is going to be a band that you're going to want to keep tabs on. This is going to be a band that you're going to want to just make sure you follow for the rest of the time that you're able to follow them, whether it's their lifetime or your lifetime. So... am I going to give this one a thumbs up? You know what? Nah, because I'm going to give it 2 instead. I got you on that one.
You got me. I was like, oh, dude.
You're talking all this positive stuff, and it's going to be like, you're going to give it this? No, I mean, I got 2 thumbs. If I had another hand, I'd give you a third one, but everyone would be questioning, how the hell do you have a third hand? I'm pretty sure the government would.
Big toes.
If I had a third hand and a third thumb, I'm pretty sure all of a sudden the government would show up and be like, we need to take you for testing. And I'd just be like,
we need your third thumb.
Yeah, and I'll be like, well, see you guys. I'm never going to see you again after that, so that's not good. But also, after this track is, because now it's out right now, everyone's able to listen to it, and everyone that is watching the video on YouTube, you will see at the bottom of the video, you'll see the fact that Luna is available now, and that you can listen to it wherever you listen to music, whether you stream it or still download it like I do because of how much I work with this stuff. So... yeah, I'm going to have everything down there for you when it comes to links to stream it so that you can also follow along with Dreamwave to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. So, yeah, got you covered on that front. So, really the last thing I have to ask you guys in this instance is, going forward for the rest of the year, what can we expect from you guys?
Music.
Yeah, a lot of content, that is for sure. We've been gone for too long, so... we've come back to bless y'all with some some good tunes,
some Dreamwake vibes.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff planned. Definitely throughout the rest of the year. What we say?
Tons of releases, to be honest.
More music, more videos. Definitely a lot of stuff for people to resonate with.
Yeah.
And
playthroughs.
Once it's safe for shows to come back, I mean, we want to come back and play shows as quickly as we can, but definitely as safely as we can. So
basically waiting on the touring market, to be honest, respectfully. You know what I mean? Those are the people who lost their jobs and stuff. So, I'm going to wait for them to get back to it. And once they're back, though, we're back.
Yep.
So,
we'll be back on stage.
It's going to be a busy year for us, for sure.
Definitely.
Totally understandable. And as we close out this podcast, the one thing I always like to end with is by giving you guys a chance to say whatever you want, plug whatever you want. So... gotta say this to you guys from Dreamwake. The floor is yours.
Floor is ours. Okay. Well,
floor is ours.
You want to plug anything?
Plug anything?
No. Real quick, honestly. Shout out my mom. No, just kidding. Hi, Mom.
Wait. Shout out Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne.
Oh, yes.
We love Wayne.
Wayne is our merch guy who just opened up his own shoe store.
If you're into hype gear and stuff like that, I bought this hoodie from his store, actually.
It's called Impossible Kicks. They're opening a bunch of locations around the U.S. Shortly, hopefully over the next year. But shout out Impossible Kicks. Shout out Wayne.
If you're in the Connecticut area, go shop, buy some shoes and
Impossible Kicks.
Really and truly.
Wayne is a beast.
But our producer Steve, Nicholas, for delivering a really awesome mix. There's a few other people that I don't want to give away any spoilers, so I'm not going to shout out just yet. Hopefully on a future podcast.
So
have us on again.
Audrey from Breakout.
Shout out Audrey from Breakout
great.
PR.
Shout out Alex.
Black Wolf Imaging, who did the video. Absolutely talented.
Everyone that made everything thus far possible.
Yeah.
The whole team.
Shout out.
Yeah, everyone who's helped us in any way to get where we are now. It's,
honestly, just go stream the absolute crap out of Luna and enjoy it and memorize the words and come sing it at a show really, really soon, hopefully as soon as possible, wear a mask.
You'll
Yeah,
be seeing us sobbing on stage. The first time we play a show, dude, I'm literally going to be sobbing on stage.
We had a bet, like, who was going to cry at what point during our first set back.
All of us at the first note.
During a sound check. Sobbing during a sound check.
All you need to do is you need to get a piano, play the G note to start, and then just start crying, because everyone will.
Pretty much.
And I'm like, are they trying to cover MCR right now? It's like, no. We just needed that to just let out a good cry.
Give me a moment, bro. Give me a moment. It's been a while.
It's a perfect way to go. Well, I will say this before I go through my final 3 things that I like to say. So, really, when I give the bands like the floor at the end to like say whatever they want, play whatever they want, no one really ever gives shout outs to people that like work with them or help them out, like, or do stuff with their music. So I got to give you guys a lot of credit for that, because usually of course they're going to plug and they're going to thank other people, but no one's gone like to the extent that you guys have gone with that. So
we love our team.
Yeah.
Like,
Family, bro. Family.
We wouldn't be here without them.
This team that we've had, like, Kevin, Bob, and I have all been in bands, years prior to this. And, the teams we've worked with haven't been quite right. It just hasn't all connected. But for some reason with Dreamwake, the team we've had working with this album and, all this new music has been
absolutely
incredible.
Incredible. Like, it finally feels like real. It feels like whole. It feels normal, and it feels like right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels
every single person who has helped has been incredible and helped us bring it to life the way we wanted it to. So
shout out Dreamwake team.
Wouldn't be possible without those people.
Shout out to the Dreamwake team for that. So now it is time for me to close out this podcast with 3 things. First things first, when it comes to finding Dreamwake online, when it comes to streaming Luna, and when it comes to being able to get in with the band, follow them on their socials, buy some merch from them, whatever it might be. If you guys are thinking, Kevin, do I have to look up this stuff? Do I have to search it up online? Why can't you just put the links in the description below like you always do? Well, I am always doing that, so it's going to happen here. Take a look at the description of this podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or on YouTube. You'll see something that says Find Dreamwake Online. You're going to see labels for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the website, their merch, where you can stream their music, where you can stream Luna, where you can watch the Luna video as well. So that all you have to do is just click on them and go from there. I'm making it as easy as possible. Convenience is the key here, people. So you have no excuse to not get into this band and check them out right now. Again, if you love bands like Era and Northlane, go check out Dreamwake. That is a great way to kind of gauge what you'd be getting into, because in terms of not only sound but quality at the same time as well. Had to put in my little radio voice for quality. Secondly,
thank you.
Secondly, all right, guys, this is something I do on the podcast where the guests that I have on, I absolutely enjoy having on. And if I had a great podcast, I had a great time, I make this kind of a promise. This happens 100% of the time, and this is happening once again. However, I'm changing up just a little bit. So the promise normally is if and when I get to see you guys play live for the first time. Well, not if, it is a when. The promise is always first round's on me, because I do want to see you guys play live. However, I am changing this one up because we had a little bit, at the beginning of this podcast, we had a conversation about Super Smash Bros., right?
Oh
man.
So here is the promise I'm making you guys. And it's also kind of a little bit of a challenge for you too, because I want to see you guys come out and play here in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And if you do, I will make sure that here where I live right now, there is a fridge in the corner, is a PBR mini fridge. It will be stocked full of beer. Okay?
Okay.
I have the N64. I've got all those games. Got Smash Bros. Mario Kart, whatever you want, ready to go. You guys,
I'm coming over.
The promise is you guys come over here.
Right now, we'll see you in a little bit.
I was saying the promise is you guys come over here and we play Smash Bros. And drink and play Mario Kart and do whatever the fuck.
We're there.
Boys have a great kick-ass time. Hell, order as much food as you guys fucking want to, because I love doing this podcast with you guys. So yeah, we're making this happen. We're gonna make a whole entire fucking party out of it.
You'd never ask.
We're there, bro. We're there.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Alrighty. So make sure you come out to Milwaukee. We'll make it happen.
Yes,
we will.
sir.
On the real, we will definitely hit you up when we're out in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Definitely, we'll make it happen. Alrighty. So, on that note, Andrew, Bobby, Kevin, Dave, I cannot end this podcast in all good conscience with a goodbye, because, hell, I want to see you guys play live, and, well, I made a incredibly large promise right there, and with all my promises, like Game of Thrones, I always repay my debts. So, yes, I'm making sure that this happens. So I cannot end this with goodbye, because that seems too final. That seems like, oh, that's it. No.
See you later.
See you soon.
Yeah.
That's why I end it with, see you later.
See you soon, bro.
See you guys.
Thank you again.
Whoa, folks, that was my interview with the guys from Dreamwake out of Connecticut. Once again, their brand new song Luna is out now, so go check it out. You can find anything you know about the band, links to their socials, where you can watch video for Luna, where you can stream it in terms of the song and the video, where you can buy their merch as well in the description of this podcast, Spotify podcast, Google Play. No, not Google Play anymore. iHeartRadio and YouTube. Forgot about Google Play. I keep forgetting it's gone. Make sure you follow along with the band because they got brand new music coming out more and more over the course of the year that you're not going to want to miss, especially if you're fans of the bands like Era and Northlane. So you know, especially if you're making that Northlane video, me liking the band, that I'm going to follow along with this as well. Plus, dude, that promise I made to these guys, let's just say this. I hope to God that this happens sooner rather than later because I want to play Smash Bros with these guys, drink some beer at the PBR fridge, have some pizza, and just enjoy it all hell. And as I close this out, remember what the toll of the podcast is if you're listening to this, again, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, please comment, please do all that stuff. But the toll is share with somebody. Please share this episode with a friend, someone in your family that likes rock or metal, anybody that likes music, or share it online. You can tweet the episode. You can post about it on Instagram. You can post about it on Facebook. Post the episode to a Facebook group. That is always a good one as well. So please do that. Please follow along with MLSOTD Rocks. Again, links description below for everything. So on that note, that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast with MLSOTD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin. Yes, my name. And you guys know how I end every single one of them with a big, healthy, and hearty see ya.